What's going on, guys? Tonight I got a little lineup here. Some peppers from Ojos Rojos. Now, none of these I didn't get the IDs for most of these. And like this one, you can see it's starting to ripen. He had said that there was one or two of them that weren't ripe, but that's fine. It should still be really, really tasty. They look like beautiful little pods. And finally, this guy right here. I'm not sure what these are, but we're going to give them a try. This one first. Familiar flavor with that one. Very familiar flavor with that one. I've definitely had a pepper that tasted just like that. It was a good citrusy burst up front, and then it goes floral, but a really mellow floral. It's strong enough that you can taste it, but it's not pungent and bitter. Very smooth, citrusy, and floral. And then the flavors kind of combined. The citrusy diminished. And the floral kind of came up. But not to a disgusting level. Just enough that you get this good floral flavor floating around in your mouth. Good heat on that one. I'm not sure what it is, so I don't know where it's supposed to sit. But I feel like for the size of that pod, that one packed a punch. So it got me to about a 2. Which smaller pods it doesn't mean that it's going to be less hot. In fact, I've had some small pods that wrecked me worse than big pods. It really depends on what it is, though. That's very dependent on what type of pepper that is. So I remember this one time, my buddy Sean sent me a pepper that he's working on stabilizing. And it was a tiny, tiny little pepper, like half the size of this. And it absolutely wrecked my stomach. It was really warm. I didn't feel like up here it was hot enough to do what it did. But man, it was vicious on its way through. It tore me up. And it was a tiny, tiny little pepper. Like mind-blowing what it did for how small it was. But anyways, back to the peppers. Well, these peppers. Again, this one's starting to ripen, so we should get a good combination of flavors there. Excuse me, pepper burp. Yeah, when I can tell, definitely would have tasted a lot better. 100% ripe. It was very grassy and very floral. I had points in there that got really bitter. And yet still I wouldn't call it a bad pod. Surprisingly, it was still delicious. Which usually floral and bitter I don't like. But it wasn't disgusting. By no means was that disgusting. I'm not the biggest fan of grassy either. So it's surprising that I even like that one. But it was still really good. It's just very vegetal. Grassy. And the bitter kind of came and went. It would like start getting bitter and then go away. And the bitterness would come back a little bit and then it would go away. Just a really strong grassy and floral. Again, for its size, that one has some good heat to it. The burn's really good too. It's so evenly spread throughout my mouth. Tongue, the roof of my mouth, my lips, my gums. Yeah, that was a warm one. That's good. Very good. This one, very beautiful. You know what? Just because. You know, sometimes you get a new knife and you just want to use it. Ooh. Beautiful. Beautiful interior on that one. Oh, if I can hold it. So there's that. Focus. It's having trouble focusing tonight. But it is a really good looking interior. This one should taste pretty good. That one was also a very familiar taste, but of a pepper variety that it definitely wasn't, because that tasted a lot like a Bacchino. But it most definitely wasn't. That's interesting. Okay, so it came in like it was going to really ramp up the heat, but it never rose. That was just one of those peppers that hit you all at once. Tries to put on a front like it's hotter than it actually is. But where I was at, excuse me, where I was at was pretty much where it would have taken me to. Maybe a little bit lower. That one was definitely harder to describe the flavors. Surprisingly. It was fruity and floral. Definitely. but it had this very distinct background flavor. I guess it's just the type of floral that it was. It was a very familiar flavor. Very. I said almost kind of like a fresh Bikino or something like that. I almost want to say Sharapita. Nahi Sharapita. But that one has a little more of a habanero flavor. This one was a little bit different. Burn hanging out right on the top of the tongue. Roof of my mouth. Pretty much the same places. Excuse me. Pepper burp. Wipe my nose. Excuse me. Now that all the other flavors have dissipated, I do have a very habanero-like flavor in my mouth, ironically. Now that I said it, it doesn't taste like a habanero. And that just leaves us this one. They all smell very vegetal and fresh. Slightly fruity. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Beautiful interior. Really clean. Not a lot of seeds. Not a lot of pith either. Like, very, very little pith. It almost just looks like veins. You can see a tiny little bit right down in the middle there, stretching through the pepper. There's some narrow, that is a narrow pith. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be good. It's probably delicious. Let's give it a try. The texture to that one. That was interesting. I have a feeling this is a ghost. I don't know for sure. That one was fruity, floral, and slightly bitter. Tasted a lot like a ghost. I don't know for sure though. Just a good fruitiness hangs around in the mouth. It is accompanied with floral and bitter though. Still tasty. That bitter just takes away from it. If peppers weren't bitter, if no pepper was bitter, it would be even more enjoyable. Some people like the bitter. I just can't wrap my head around it. Absolutely no disrespect, you know. I just like that in the combination of flavors. I feel like it really takes away from flavor. And obviously that's not a grower issue, that's the pepper itself. So I typically, now again, I don't know if that definitely was a ghost, but so I typically don't like ghosts, any ghost I've ever had. So it's just been a little too bitter for me. Burn is pretty much staying solid. I say I got to about a 3. It's staying solid at that 3 and just continually working its way around my mouth. Same places. Top of the tongue, roof of the mouth, a little bit on the gums. Yeah, all 4 of them had fantastic heat. Again, for the size of the pepper. Excuse me, burp. They all packed a punch. Even though some of them had flavors that I don't necessarily prefer, still absolutely delicious. Again, that was from Ojos Rojos. I got a few more from him. So I just had flavor pop back up in my mouth. I'm trying to distinguish from which one it was. It was from the burp. Starts bringing flavors back out. And the flavor I'm getting is just a very fruity, habanero-like flavor. That's funny. All right, guys. Burn daily.